In the past, numerous nations have been destroyed all by a single girl. Her name is Angelica Vlad Quincy. People feared her and whispered about her. She is the vampire princess who topples nations. The kingdom is called Zildjian, a great kingdom with 500 years of history. The founding king, Zildjian Javard, destroyed the aristocracy and nobles who were oppressing the people at the time. It is a country created with the aim of being a place where everyone can live happily. In the magical forest that stretches along the border of the kingdom Zildjian, it is said that the vampire princess lives there. One day, Angelica was wandering around the forest. She suddenly stops when she sees two monsters, so she immediately hides in a bush. She was curious about what was happening since there was a basket that the two monsters were staring at. But then, the two monsters sense her, so they turn around to find her. The two quickly let out their fangs, indicating that they were about to strike. Angelica didn't feel any fear. Instead, she smiled and lifted her hands, planning to use a little magic on them. She also told them that she would appreciate it if they behaved themselves, then use magic to attack them. It seems like she went overboard because the two didn't move after they fell on the ground. She went to the basket and was surprised. There was a child, a human calmly sleeping in the basket. She was confused about how the baby got in the forest. She bent down and poked her cheeks. As soon as the baby opens her eyes, it smiles at her. She found the baby adorable. She tapped her head and told that she was safe because she was going to protect her. But she suddenly froze because she didn't know if she could raise a human being. She can take a life, but to raise a child is another thing. But when she saw how cute the baby was, she decided to take it whatever happened. She carried the baby and started to walk home. After a while, she reached a mansion. As soon as she arrived, Aria and Fernandez immediately greeted her. They were asking about the baby that she was carrying, so she told them that she found her in the forest. Aria looks frustrated since she found her instead of a dog or cat, then she quickly took the baby. Angelica told them that if she left the baby there, she would probably be eaten by a monster. That's why she brought her home. She was surprised when Angelica told her that she was going to raise the baby. She refused since neither Fernandez nor her have any experience raising children. But she was stunned when Fernandez told Angelica that if she already decided, then he will follow her decision. She was delighted, so the first thing on her mind was to pick a name for the baby. She observed the baby and analyzed that she has a skin as white and beautiful as a pearl, so she decided to give her the name Pearl. Her two servants seem happy with the name, so she leaves the three as she goes to the town for a bit to get some stuff for pearls. She asked Aria to take care of her while she was out. Later on, she went to a boutique and bought some stuff. While thinking what else could Pearl need, she notices that she has been followed by a couple of street thugs. She could ignore them, but an idea came to her mind. She wanted to entertain them a little. As she turns around, the three thugs call her. One of them told her that a well-dressed young lady like her shouldn't be wandering around a place like that alone. They were asking for her money. In return, they wouldn't take her life if she gave it to them. Angelica forms an evil smile, so she asks them to come over because she will play with them. One of the thugs was furious, so he immediately rushed towards her. But the man was not yet close to her. Angelica used her magic and threw the man on the wall. The two thugs left were shocked, and one of them called her a monster. She was irate for calling her that way. In a flock of her fingers, the man's head was cut. One thug left. The man was scared, asking her to spare his life, and he will do everything she asked. Angelica refuses because she will never forgive those who direct malice towards her. Then she lifted her palm and created her hellfire prison to strike the man. The people were shocked when they saw how the burnt body fell on the ground. Instead of eluding those people, Angelica greeted them before she left the scene. However, she was furious when Angelica left Pearl to her. She claims that the lady was always unpredictable and didn't consider how it feels for them to be tossed around like that. Fernandez, who is calm, told her that it might be Angelica's way of atoning her actions. It seems she is still quite concerned about what happened back then. Aria looks calm because of his words, so he offers her tea. But her eyes widened and immediately called him when she saw the crest of the saint on the baby's hand. Crest of the saint is one who has received the blessings of the goddess. That being, who bears the duty of saving people, at times, she often becomes the stand-bearers for slaying monsters. One day, it may become an enemy to Angelica and her companions. Anyway, Angelica is finally home. She was bewildered when she saw that her two servants looked worried. Then they show her the hands of Pearl, who got the crest of the saint. The two were confused when they saw Angelica. Instead of becoming worried, she seemed delighted and told them that it's fine. Because even if she has the Holy Sanet's crest, Pearl is already one of them. Fernandez asks her if she will not report it to the royal court. She winked at him and told that she was not going to report it because it'll be too much trouble if she does. Besides, she was looking forward to what Pearl futures hold. Time flew so fast and Pearl was grown into a fine child. That time, Angelica was with her, teaching her some magic while having a fight against a huge monster. The kid focuses and uses her wind blade. When she cut the monster's arm, she was delighted. So Angelica told her not to let her guard down. But it looks like it's too late. The monster was already approaching her, so no matter how she used her wind magic, the monster was already in front of her. Her eyes widened, so Angelica quickly moved and snapped her finger. As a result, the monster's head was cut off. The latter told her child that it was too close, but she was surprised when she saw that Pearl was frustrated, claiming she can handle it with just her own strength. She tapped her head to calm her and told not to be cheeky. She explains that if it had stayed like that, she would have been blown away. To change her child's mood, she told her to go home and have some tea because Aria prepared some delicious sweets for them. After hearing the sweets, Pearl immediately ran home while Angelica seemed stunned because she never imagined that Pearl would become that strong so quickly. 3 years ago, she remembered when Pearl was 3 years old. She had already made a headband. Then Fernandez calls the child because it's time for her to study. As soon as the two left, Aria called her attention because she was going to show her something. They went outside and she found the place really beautiful, but she was confused when Aria told her the place was not like that before. According to the latter, originally, the flowers in that area were dead. But the moment Pearl touched a dead flower, they bloomed beautifully. She didn't think that the healing power of the saint had already manifested. A saint is born with healing powers, but to restore a withered flower to its original state, a stronger power than usual is required. No saint with that kit of power has been born in the last few hundred years. She was delighted because, as she expected of her cute little daughter, she was a genius. Aria looks worried when Angelica says that she will make Pearl happy forever. The lady noticed it, so she gave her a sharp look. Then she commands her to keep a close eye on Pearl's power because using too much might be a heavy burden, so she has to make sure that Pearl is careful. Anyway, Pearl noticed that her mother was still standing, so she asked her to hurry up. She apologized and immediately followed her and grabbed her child's hand, and they both went home. As soon as they arrived, Aria greeted them. Fernandez was not around, so Angelica asked where he was. Aria told her that he was meeting the new king at the palace. Then, she asked the latter to prepare some tea. When Pearl hears it, she suggests that she will help and rush towards the kitchen. After that, Fernandez came home and told her that the meeting with the new king went smoothly, but he clenched his fist and restrained his words. Because he knew, Angelica would get really angry when she heard the news. But he has too, so he told the lady that the new king gave an order for her to go to the castle and greet him. Angelica Vlad Quincy is a vampire princess and a true ancestor. She destroyed several counties over the past 1,000 years. She is still feared as the vampire princess who destroys nations. Since she greatly contributed to the founding of the Kingdom of Zildjian, that title has been around since the time of the founding of the king. It was supposed to have been protected as something superior to even the king. However, Angelica thought that after a long time, it has not been properly conveyed even among the royal family, so she decided to go to the palace and greet the new king. Their conversation was cut off when Pearl called her and told her that the snacks were ready. She walks toward her, but suddenly stops when she notices that Pearl was staring at her. Her child asked her if something was wrong because she had a scary look on her face. She laughed at her and told not to worry since it's not a big deal. Afterwards, Angelica went to the palace along with Fernandez. The king looks like didn't know her when she arrived and calls her an insolent fool. The king went furious when she just laughed at him even though he dared to call her rude. But the king went into shock as well as the palace became silent when she called him stupid and not his vassal. She also stated that she only stayed in that country for so long because of her connection to the founding king. Because the founding king promised to give her the utmost respect for all eternity, and that promise has been kept all the time. Then she asks the reason for calling her. The king told her that a war with the empire is about to begin and commanded her that she was enlist and serve in the war. The king was not yet finished, but Angelica immediately turned down his command. The king was surprised because she helped the founding king in the past, so it's natural that she should help him too. Angelica responded that the previous king was humble, kind, and polite. He was nothing compared to the fool king he was. She turned to Fernandez and told that she had no interest in listening, so she would leave. The king was furious and would not let Angelica leave the palace. His guards started to point their swords against her because he will make the latter cooperate by force. He commands his guards to capture her, so they rush towards Angelica. The king was astonished when he saw that in the blink of her eye, his guest was already lying in the ground. According to Angelica, he will forgive that one-time scene on consideration of the founding king, but if he insults her again, his kingdom has no future. Then she leaves along with Fernandez. The king was enraged because they must subjugate Angelica as soon as possible. Their country is no match for the military might of the empire. He was still thinking what to do when the servants interrupted him and announced that Lord Gordon was there. He told the servant to let him in. The king was irate when Gordon asked him about his feelings because his looks could tell that he was not in a good mood. Gordon stated that the herd Angelica did not agree to join the war and their elite royal knights are completely powerless. However, their opponent is the Sabian Empire, renowned as one of the strongest on the continent. In order to defeat the empire, they have no choice but to bring the true ancestor into that war no matter what. Gordon saw that the king was mad because he assumed that he would mock him, but he was not and never did such a thing. He told the king that he had come with a proposal to get the true ancestor to cooperate with them. Furthermore, 3 people went to the forest. They were Fender, Kettner, and Kira. They are a rank adventurer who got requests to capture vampires. Fender asked the 2 why they were 3 being called, but he ignores it bass eyes as long as he can have a good drink after work. He doesn't really care. Kira finds him easygoing, then they start to argue. Kettner notices something, so he asks the 2 to be quiet because the place is warded. That means they were closed. Kettner asks Kira if she can break through. The latter was delighted and immediately used her magic to break the ward. Angelica, who was on the other side, noticed that the ward was broken. Pearl observed that she lost focus, so she asked her mom if she was okay. She smiled at her child and told not to worry, reminding her that she was strong. She turned again to the warded and could see the 3 adventurers were on their way. They arrive and conceitedly ask if she was the vampire that lives there. When Angelica told her that she is, Kettner apologized because he was going to hurt her a little bit. Then she unsheathed his sword and rushed towards Angelica. The latter smoothly dodged it, so Fender yells at Kettner to stay back. He asks Kira to attack simultaneously and both strike Angelica. Pearl, who was watching, was worried for her mother, but it looks like there's nothing to worry about, because in just a flick of her finger, he can avoid their attack. Kettner observed that she was not a regular vampire. The 3 adventurers were astonished when she told them that she was the princess of the true ancestor clan and not just a regular vampire. She asks them if they were finished because she wants to show her daughter an example of magic, so the 3 adventurers quickly run away to save their lives. Then she called her daughter to come close to her and watch closely. She gathers her power and strikes an explosive to the 3 adventurers. Pearl widened her eyes in amazement at how awesome her mother was. Kira stared at Angelica. She was curious what kind of magical power she used. She was angry and at the same time frustrated at her own weakness. It looks like Angelica could hear her thoughts that she wants to be strong like her until lose her consciousness. The 3 woke up, so she asked them if they wanted to join her for tea. Aria was worried because Angelica already let the lowly human in her mansion, then now she wants to have a tea together. That's filthy. Angelica calmed her and told that it was fine. When Kettner asked her where they were, she told them that they have been in her mansion since they passed out, so she brought them there to be treated. She told the 3 to sit down and introduce themselves. Kettner explained that they don't know the details of the client, but it was a request through the Adventurers Guild. They wanted them to capture a vampire living in the magical forests. They didn't know that they were dealing with a true ancestor. Angelica knew that the request was from the Idiot King, so she asked them if they planned to continue the request because she wouldn't mind dealing with them. Kettner quickly responds in no way because he can't even think of opposing her after seeing such a vast difference in their power. Fender agreed with him because he was not stupid to make an enemy with a true ancestor. Then Angelica turned to Kira because she was the only one who didn't speak. The latter told that she had a favor to ask, to be her apprentice. She says that she used to think that magic was the only thing she could not lose to anyone, but the lady defeated her so easily. She wants to become stronger because she thinks Angelica knows a lot of magic that she doesn't, so she begged Angelica to teach her. Angelica thought that she didn't want to be around humans any longer, but Pearl came. She's been thinking about Kira since they fought. She's strong. She may have been no match for her in the combat, but she was able to break through the ward that no one has ever broken before, and she made it deeper into the forest. She thought she'll be the one to support Pearl, who might someday end up on the side of the humans. Angelica let out a sigh and granted Kira's request, but on one condition. She wants her to be friends with her daughter Pearl. She explained that the latter was not her biological daughter, that she found her abandoned in the woods as a baby and raised her as her daughter. She's just an ordinary human child, not a vampire or anything. At that moment, Pearl has no contact with anyone but them, and she may have to leave them at some point. So when it happens, she wants Kira to help her so she doesn't struggle. She was startled when Kira suddenly grabbed her hands and called her master. She was wondering if Kira was really alright. On the other hand, the king was furious and called the 3 adventurers useless. Gordon bowed at him and apologized because he miscalculated the situation. He never expected that even with the 3S rank adventurers, the raid would fail. The king told him that the war with the Empire is near, so they must do something quickly. Gordon remembers that he heard rumors about the true ancestor having a young daughter. The king was surprised, so Gordon suggested that if they abduct the girl and hold her as a hostage, they can subjugate the true ancestor. The king formed an evil smile because their plan for sure would work. Angelica started the training of Pearl and Kira. They asked them to be in their position, and the mock better begins. Kira was the first to strike and use her fire arrow, but Pearl seems ready and creates a magic shield to protect her against Kira. The latter was amused when Pearl avoided her attack, so she created another one and struck again. But it seems she miscalculated her power and used too much of it, so she called Pearl because the girl might be hurt. Angelica, who's watching, didn't bother because she saw that Pearl could handle it. Then she was deploying her magic cannon to counterattack Kira. Afterwards, Angelica announced to them to stop. When Kira heard it, she suddenly lay on the ground breathless. Pearl, on the other hand, was so happy that she did it. She rushed towards Kira and helped her to stand up. She didn't think that she could win in a normal fight. They were both delighted when Angelica said that they did great. They says that there is still room for improvement, so they have to keep up the good work. After that, Kira waved goodbye because she was going to hunt some monsters, then went to the mansion. Pearl was staring at Kira. She didn't realize her mother was calling her. So she apologized to Angelica and asked her to go home first. She immediately runs and follows Kira's path. However, the latter seems worried because she used up more magical power in the mock battle than she thought. Then, she was surprised when Pearl called her and told that she might have little magic left, so she followed her. Pearl asked for her hand. Even though she was confused, she did as told. Kira was astounded when Pearl held tight to her hands and released some power to her that restored her magical powers. After that, Pearl left her speechless and waved goodbye. She plans to talk to Angelica regarding what happened. After a while, she went to the library and asked Angelica for a minute and said that it's about Pearl. She exclaimed that she never heard of a spell that restores magical power. Moreover, she didn't sense any mana from Pearl at that time, so it means it's not magic. Angelica told him that the matter must not be spoken of to others. Kira was surprised that she knew about her. Angelica is hesitant to tell the truth at first, but she made sure and asked for her promise that Kira wouldn't tell anyone about the story that she was about to tell. The latter made a promise, so she told her that Pearl is a saint. So the power that Pearl uses is the healing power of a saint, a power unique to the saints, not magic. She also says that Pearl didn't even know it, even her origin. Because for her, saint or not, she's still her little girl, so Kira must treat her the same way she has been. She was thankful to Kira because she understood. When Kira left her, Angelica wondered if she should have a proper talk with Pearl because it's about time to tell her the truth. When evening came, she seemed worried and glanced at the clock every now and then. Then someone knocked on her door. It was Pearl, who seemed worried too. Angelica told her that there's something she needs to tell her. She starts with 6 years ago. She found a human baby abandoned in the woods. If she left the baby, its life would be in danger. Above all, the baby was cute, so she took the baby home. And that baby was her. She also told her that she was not really her mother, but she thinks of her as her own and loved her always. She apologized because she didn't tell her before. She also asks if she can't forgive her, but she can't finish her words because Pearl cut her off. Tears flowing on her cheeks, and says that the idea of not forgiving her is not true, just as Angelica thinks of her as a real daughter. For her, she's also her real mom. Though she's a little overprotective, she finds her sweet. That's why she loves her very much. Angelica was surprised that Pearl wasn't mad at her, so she immediately hugged her. She claimed that she was so glad that she found her and happy to be her mom. Before they went to sleep, she also told Pearl that she was a saint. She was someone with amazing power who helped the world and everyone. Her daughter was surprised and asked if she had to leave the mansion. Angelica smiles at the daughter, telling that she doesn't need to leave. She was the daughter of the true ancestor, so she was free to live however she wanted. She was delighted when her daughter held her hands and promised that she will be with her mom forever. They both sleep with a smile on their faces. The next day, Pearl was so happy because the cake that she's eating was so delicious. She wished that her mom had come too. Akira explained to her that the young lady has always been somewhat of a homebody, and as she knows, she's incredibly beautiful and stands out in crowded places. She was happy when Pearl said that her mom was indeed extremely beautiful. But the tea on her mouth suddenly blew out when Pearl added that even though she was not her real child. She was shocked, so she asked her where did she get that, and Pearl simply says that her mom told her. She was choky since Angelica should have told her about that. Anyway, she cleared her throat and told Pearl that the young lady cherished her as if she was her real daughter. And of course, she also thinks of her as her younger sister. Although felt awkward, Pearl was smart and understood what she was trying to say. Then she suddenly excuses herself and says that she will be right back and goes to the bathroom. When she entered the bathroom, she felt embarrassed and ran away. She took off the gloves that her mom gave her. When she was about to wash her hands, a forceful hand suddenly grabbed her and put a handkerchief on her face. Akira, who seems worried, rushes to Angelica. She shows her Pearl's gloves, but she can't continue her words. So Angelica calms her and asks what happened. She stated that Pearl went to the bathroom at the cafe. Because she was taking so long to return, she went to check and found out that she was gone. She looked everywhere around the cafe but couldn't find her. Angelica was shocked when she learned the news. She was confused if Pearl was kidnapped or not. But in the end, she was terrified that again, someone she loved, she was going to lose her too. Those feelings remind her of Sarah, an innkeeper. She cooks for her, but when she comments that the food was good, Sarah will correct her that she should say it's delicious. She follows what Sarah told, and it looks like she is delighted because she made the food herself. But Sarah finds her strange because her choice of words is not normal. Like the way she tried to pay 50 times the market rate for lodging. She can't help it since it's her first time interacting with a human. But Sarah didn't take her seriously and assumed that she was her first friend. She didn't know what friend means, so she reluctantly said that maybe. But for Sarah, Angelica is her friend. She finished her meal and thanked Sarah. But before she leaves, she reminds her not to go anywhere near the castle. Sarah became worried that something was about to happen. She thought that tomorrow, the royal castle and the royalty living there would be burned to the ground by none other than her hands. Because people insult the true ancestor and commit an act of disrespect. It was an order from her father, the head of the family. She just stayed at Sarah's inn just to kill time before the execution. It had been a month since she met Sarah and her family. She comes to care for them so much and doesn't want to put them in danger. But she couldn't tell Sarah and made an alibi that she had a bad feeling about. So she asked Sarah to promise not to go anywhere near the castle. The latter made a promise, so she left the two and waved goodnight. The day of the execution arrived. She deployed her magic cannon. But she was shocked when she saw Sarah with her daughter. She immediately tries to stop her magic cannon, but it's too late because once the magic has manifested, it cannot be undone no matter how she begged for it. That day, Sarah went on a shopping trip along with her daughter. She already told her to stay away from the royal castle. But in the end, they still went and now they are gone. Angelica burst into tears. She was so devastated and felt sorry for them. Anyway, her two servants noticed that she seems stunned, so Fernandez calls her, ask her to stay calm. She told the two that she will look for Kira since she knows the city. Maybe she'll know something. She ordered Arya to search the cafe again. Fernandez should stay in the mansion in case Pearl comes back. No matter what happens, they will bring Pearl home. She won't lose another loved one because of her mistake. She left the mansion and wandered around the royal capital of Zildjian. She was begging for Pearl's safeness. Luckily, the three adventurers saw her, so she quickly asked them if they saw Pearl. But they stated that they didn't see her daughter. She told them that her daughter was in town, but now she was missing. Given that situation, she assumes that she might be abducted. If they haven't seen her daughter, she asks them if they see anything suspicious. Fender says that he just saw some strange people a little while ago. He thought maybe they were carrying monsters they'd kill. But they looked to be heading for the royal castle and not the Adventurers Guild. The three adventurers were terrified when Angelica changed her face because they couldn't barely stand the intense killing that she was holding. Anyway, Angelica couldn't believe that the idiot king could be the culprit. She asked them if they have any friends or acquaintances near the royal castle. If they do, better tell them to evacuate immediately because if it wasn't for Pearl, she will never hesitate and burn the whole castle, whether it's the country or the world. Those fools will learn of her wrath. Angelica arrived at the royal castle of Zildjian. Two royal guards were about to turn their shifts. One of them asked his companion if he heard the rumor that their majesty picked a fight with the true ancestor. He didn't know if it's true, but if it's, their country wouldn't last long. They were shocked when the wall suddenly exploded and Angelica was the culprit. Other guards rushed towards the scene. They were trying to stop Angelica, but the latter didn't bother. She told them to get out of her way or else she will kill them all. The guards didn't listen, so she manifested her servant monster and ordered them to get rid of everyone who blocked her way. As a result, all the guards immediately ran away. But one of them was trying to attack, but the monster easily beat him. Another guard who was lying on the ground couldn't believe that the true ancestor of the vampire clan, the vampire princess who destroys nations, was walking in front of him. His eyes widened because the rumor was true, but it was too late for him to run, because the monster already caught and struck him to death. Anyway, the king was happy to see Angelica because he didn't have to go through the trouble of sending someone. Angelica quickly asks for her daughter. She was worried when she saw her daughter being tied up while tears were about to fall because of her fear. She was about to run into her, but the king stopped her and put a knife on her daughter's neck. She was threatened that if she moved an inch from where she was standing, Pearl's head would roll. She was furious, but she didn't move. The king told her to wear a magical item known as the Collar of Enslavement, because if she wears it, she will never be able to resist the king again. The king also said that if she wants her daughter back, she must wear it. Angelica understood the situation, so she put the collar on her neck. The king couldn't hide his happiness when she saw her wearing the collar because of it. Angelica will do what he says. He will also return the humiliation that he has suffered from her. So to start with, he wanted Angelica to kneel before him. The latter refused at first, but when she looked at her poor daughter, she couldn't control her anger and quickly crossed the gap between the king and her. The king was astonished and couldn't move an inch when the true ancestor grabbed his collar. Angelica touched the collar and asked him if he really thought that kind of magical tool would work on her. Then she easily broke the collar. The guard who was holding Pearl didn't resist when Angelica took her daughter. She carried her and said that they would go home together once she was done with her errands. Before they leave the palace, she calls the attention of the stupid king. She told him that he went too far. It's one thing if it's just her, but he even laid his hand on her precious daughter. And the only way to atone for that sin is to give his life. She will give the king a moment to think back on his foolishness and repent, then leave. The king wanted to stop her, but it's too late because he went overdoing it, to abduct her precious daughter. On the other hand, Kira was assisting the people to stay calm and follow the evacuation instructions. Kettner arrived and told her that all the people around the castle had been evacuated, so they should get out of the place too. Since Fender is leading the evacuees to the outskirts, she told him that she will join him over there. With the help of the guild master, the residents around the castle have been evacuated. She remembers Angelica's face, that killing intent. Her master seems truly intended to destroy their country. After a while, Angelica along with her daughter was floating in the air. She called the attention of the people of Zildjian. She introduced herself as the true ancestor. She told them that their foolish king took her daughter as a hostage to force her to submit to him. She will not allow such an outrage to go unpunished. From that moment, an attack on the royal castle will commence. She will now put to death their foolish king and all those who have failed to stop that outrage. She also said that she doesn't like needless slaughter, so all those who are in the vicinity of the royal castle have to evacuate immediately. Then she gave them 20 seconds to do so. When she started the countdown, the people were in panic trying to find a place to hide. Fender told them to stay calm because the castle is far from where they are, while Kettner and Kira stared at the castle until the countdown ended. On the other hand, the guards told the king to look outside. His eyes widened when he saw Angelica floating on the air. He couldn't believe that the true ancestor was going to blow out the whole castle. However, when the countdown ends, Angelica commands her daughter to cover her ears. She lifted her hands and created a massive starfall that struck the whole castle. It's finally over. Angelica immediately checked her daughter to see if she was okay. Pearl claimed that she was scared at first, but her mother came to help her right away. She immediately hugged her child. She was glad that she was safe. She was surprised when Arya suddenly came and rushed towards them to give Pearl a hug. She burst into tears and apologized to her daughter because she knew it was her fault. Arya's emotions carried her away, which is why she didn't notice that she tightened her embrace to Pearl. As the result, Pearl couldn't breathe properly and lie on her arms. The latter claimed that it was not her fault. Besides, the bad people were taking care of her mother after all. Arya was amazed while looking at the burned castle because the lady did it with such flair. As expected, she can't let the matter slide. But there is still a problem because in a country where there is no one to rule, the citizens' lives will likely fall into chaos. Kira and her friends were living in that country. Since they gave her information about Pearl, it's unpleasant knowing that their lives will be ruined by her actions. Besides, Pearl seems to be found at Kira and the others, so she has to do something about the people's lives for their sake. Arya, who really hates humans, suggests she just pray for them. They were both surprised when Pearl interrupted them. She looks furious because Arya always says bad things about humans. They both laughed until they laid on the ground, because Pearl was still cute even though she was mad. Afterwards, they decided to do something about their problem as soon as possible. Angelica still didn't know what to do. Now that the royal bloodline has been cut off, it would be preferable to have a powerful noble govern. But of course, she doesn't know anyone, so she should ask Kira and the others about it. On the other hand, Kira still couldn't believe her master's real intention. Fender interrupted and told that he was glad they didn't really attack her back then. He told them that there's still confusion but picked up a fight with the true ancestor. That is to be expected. Most people are relieved that the explosion only affected the castle. They laid their hands on the true ancestor's daughter. Normally, the country itself should have disappeared. But he was really glad that it ended like that. They were surprised when Angelica suddenly came along with her daughter and Arya. Kira was happy when she saw that Pearl was safe. Angelica was grateful for the information about Pearl, so she discussed her plan. Kettner and Fender agreed with her because there would certainly be various problems if things continued like that. There's also the possibility that the public order could worsen, so she asked them if they could introduce her to someone who can take over governance. Kira suggests their adventurer guild master because he's an intelligent man in their town at the same time. A man they can trust. He is both a powerful figure in their town and a trustworthy person. He may be able to introduce Angelica to someone suitable. In that case, the adventurer will take them to the guild, but decided to do it tomorrow since he knew everyone was tired after the event, so they will pick them up at their mansion. Later on, they finally went home. Pearl seems frustrated to the adults because she already told them several times that she was fine because everyone has been trying to spoil her since she got home. They were persistent, although she was happy about it. Angelica explains to her that it's the first time something like that has happened, but Pearl kept insisting that she was fine. Angelica got an idea. She asked her daughter if there is anything that she wants. It caught her daughter's interest, but to her surprise, her daughter asked her if she wanted to go to town with her. She wants to go shopping and have tea at a cafe every once in a while. Angelica was hesitating because she's not good with crowded places because people stare at her, especially what happened earlier. Pearl seems to want to cry when she turns her down because she promises that she will do anything. In the end, she agrees with her daughter, but they will go to town after the city settles down. So she asked her daughter to brush her teeth and go to bed. When her daughter left the room, she told Arya that she felt like her daughter had been getting more and more sly over the years. The next day on the Adventurers Guild, Gibson, who is the guild master, seems to have a big problem. According to the report, the royal castle was completely destroyed by a single blow of magic from a girl who calls herself as the true ancestor. He's been busy dealing with the evacuees, so he hasn't actually seen it for himself, but he'd rather not have a face-to-face encounter. His deep thoughts are interrupted when a servant announces that there's an adventurer who wants to see him. The adventurers apologize immediately for bothering him while he was busy, but there was something they wanted to discuss. He asks Angelica who she is, so the latter introduces herself as the true ancestor. He was stunned because earlier, he thought that it would be better not to encounter her, but now she was already in front of him. Gibson didn't notice that his voice suddenly grew louder, which is why he apologized and introduced himself. Angelica remembers that he was the one who made the request. That's why Kira and the others went to her mansion. He denies it, but Kettner insisted that he was the one who made a request about the vampire who lives in a magical forest. It looks like Gibson remembered it and told them that he heard they failed the request. Angelica pointed at herself and told Gibson that the vampire from that request is no other than her. Gibson realizes what he did, so he immediately bows down on the floor. He even accidentally slams his own head on the ground in panic just to apologize. He reasoned that he had no idea that it was her. Angelica asks him to forget about it and lift his face since she came to talk about the future of their country. They all gather on the couch, so Angelica quickly asks him about what happened. Gibson told them that the report gave them the gist of it. The lady told him that she was looking for someone who can be entrusted with their country because people will be in trouble if they don't. She was sure that the Cebian Empire was on the move as well. Gibson agreed with her and says from an Imperial's point of view, that moment is a good time as any take offense. When Angelica asks him about someone who can rule their country, there's only one person in his mind. It's Marquis Bacchus. When Kira heard the name, she suddenly rushed towards the guild master and confirmed it. According to Akira, Marquis is a celebrity, a hero who earned many military merits in the past during the war with the Empire. In stark contrast to his fierceness on the battlefield, he is gentle and kind, treating commoners without discrimination. She took out a photo of the man and praised it as if it was some kind of saint. Then she gave it to Angelica since he had 100 more of it. The latter seems confused if Kira was still okay, so Kettner assures her that Kira was still alright. She's just been a devoted fan of Marquis. She looks at the photo and asks them if he was a trustworthy person. Gibson assured that Marquis was a trustworthy person, but there's more problems than finding a ruler. According to Gibson, even with Marquis as a ruler, it will take time for the country to come together. The concern is whether the Empire will invade before then. Before Gibson could finish his sentence, the lady interrupts him and says that she will handle it. But it looks like Gibson didn't get her point and asked the meaning of she can handle it. The lady stood up and told him that it's better not to ask about the method. Finally, he understood and left everything to the lady. Since they already decided what's needed, she waved her goodbye to them. But before she could leave, Gibson called her, and once again, he sincerely apologized for the rudeness their country has shown to her. He was also grateful for her generosity. The lady smiles at him because her daughter likes the town. She was just making sure that she won't make her daughter sad. The three adventurers didn't leave him. Kettner apologized to him for causing trouble. He covers his face because of the pressure. He never thought the day would come when he talked to the vampire princess. He was so nervous and almost threw up a few times. Kettner commented that he didn't look nervous. He reasoned that it's because he was doing his best. Still, he never thought that the lady would be so considerate towards humans. In fairy tales, strength and fear are usually the only things that are spoken of. Fender told him that Angelica was the kind of princess who would raise a human child she found as her own daughter. He was sure that Angelica is much kinder than the average person. Gibson was surprised when he found out that Pearl was not her daughter and was a human. However, Kira interrupts them and asks if it's possible for her to join when he talks to Marquis. He immediately turned down her request, which is why they started to argue. After a while, Angelica finally went back home. She told Arya that they settled an agreement on who should reign, but there is something that concerns her, though it's just a minor thing. Out of the blue, she asks Arya if she's still sharp, then goes to her table and writes a letter. The latter claimed that she was still sharp, so Angelica asked her a favor regarding the letter. Arya immediately does her wish and leaves the mansion. Furthermore, the lady was surprised when her daughter rushed towards her and quickly hugged her. She asked her daughter if she's been good. Pearl agreed with her mother. She even boasted that she baked cookies with Fernandez. She was looking for Arya when she noticed that she was not around, so Angelica told her that she asked Arya on a little errand and will be back soon. On the other hand, Jamia, a commander-in-chief of the Cebian Empire, was asking for some report to Gordon. According to the latter, there was a slight miscalculation, but everything went without a hitch. They had to encourage the incompetent king to destroy the country. They couldn't wipe out the entire country, but the royal family was wiped out. That's why their operation was largely successful. Gordon was serving Jamia well as a spy for a long time. Then Chief decided to invade the Zildjian Empire. The military was yelling for the victory of their empire. Suddenly, Arya arrived asking which of them is the higher-ups of the army. The chief seems irritated because they were in the middle of the meeting. He doesn't want any servants to come. A guard approaches her, asking her to leave. Gordon and Jamia drop their jaws when Arya cuts the head of the guard with her bare hands. She told them that she didn't want to overdo it and knew that she should have used magic. Then she took out the letter that Angelica gave her, although it's messy because of the blood on her hand. She formed an evil smile and told them she had come to eliminate them by order of her lady. Arya announced to them that she came to eliminate them all. Jamia assumed that she was not just an ordinary maid, so he asked her who she was. Arya refused to introduce herself since it wasn't necessary at all. Gordon told the chief that he heard of her in the kingdom, the maid who brings the nations to ruin. Arya from an evil smile when Gordon also added that she bears a mark of death in her left arm. Jamia seems not bothered by her and asks her to leave peacefully. Arya walks towards them and says that she lives to obey the lady's orders, so she has only one demand, it's for him to die. Jamia was astonished when she showed her hand with sharp nails. Guards were frightened at the sight, then she immediately made her move and started to strike them one by one. She starts to count the person that she killed. Jamia saw how fast Arya was, so there's no way they can beat her in a normal fight. The door was only a few steps away from them, so he asked the guards to listen to him. He told them that when he gave the order, he wanted everyone to leave the room and call for reinforcement. Because if one of them gets reinforcement, and if they overwhelm her, they still have a chance to win. Arya noticed it, so she told them that they're wasting their time trying to strategize her because they can't win against her. Then the chief announced the order, so Arya immediately moved to stop them from getting into the door. She attacked them one by one, but was confused because she lost count until the last guards. The chief notices that it's just him and Gordon who remain alive. They were almost at the door. As soon as he reached the door, he quickly opened it and called for reinforcement. To their shock, everyone was already dead. Arya walked towards them and said that the order was to eliminate the Imperial Army's high command. Unnecessary killing was not required, but the guards were trying to interfere, so Arya had to kill them. Gordon asks her why the true ancestor is targeting them. Could it be that they knew about their plan? Arya was bewildered by the plan that Gordon mentioned. The latter yelled at her, saying that he thought the true ancestor wasn't interested in human wars. Arya responds that they should be grateful that it's only their lives that are stakes because the lady is kind-hearted. Then she quickly makes her move again and strikes Gordon first because his voice is so annoying. Now it's a one-on-one fight, Arya against the commander-in-chief. She attacked him, but the chief avoided it. It seems like the chief wanted to lure her, so he told her that the upper ranks of the military have been destroyed. So even if he was alive, they couldn't invade the Zildjian kingdom and the war won't happen anymore. But his words were useless because Arya doesn't care about the war. She was just carrying out the lady's orders. Then she strikes again. This time, Jamia looks like he couldn't handle the blow since it was too heavy for him. As a result, he was thrown on the ground. Then Arya walks towards him and hits him with her final strike. As a result, Jamia was sunk on the ground. The latter observed that she was a little louder than she thought it would be, but since they are all dead, no one would notice it, so it's fine. Anyway, she looks at her whole body. She finds it disgusting because of the bloodstains. She let out a sigh and stretched her body. She can't wait to go home and take a bath. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you love this manga. Have a good day.